Well, it is my absolute pleasure to be joined here today with Dr. Shan. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks, Poppy. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. I haven't been very well. I've had a, laryngitis, sinusitis. I've had a bit of this and that, but I'm feeling much better now. Obviously, the vitamin C and everything else that we do. I work in the best place, Shan. Ultimately, in terms of drinking my herbal tea. We've got my eucalyptus oil on my desk, and no, I'm all good, thank you. I'm all good. Now you are here, of course, with Ask the Doctors, and we've been taking your questions. And we've had some fabulous questions this week as well. Now, I just would like to start off by saying we have had loads come through in the last week, and we're trying to get through, obviously, as many as possible. We do apologise if we don't manage to touch on yours, but do keep them coming through. We try and do as many as we can. To get your questions in for Dr. Shan and also Dr. Dan that joins us, so we do this alternately each week, go to our website and click on Ask the Doctor. You'll see it on the homepage now, and submit your health and lifestyle questions there. No medical emergencies, because that, just to clarify. Right, fabulous. So let's get started, shall we?
Okay.
Let's get started. Okay,
yes.
So first question we have had come through today is from Steve, actually, and I sort of put an emphasis on the name because our Steve takes this this particular supplement as well. But Steve has said, I've had DVT 4 times. Twice off medication and twice off warfarin. I have improved lifestyle, etc. Recently changed my meds. Apixaban.
Yes.
Didn't know that medication myself. So I'm 55 years old. Also take B12. Brilliant. Magnesium. I play tennis regularly. Drink 3 litres of fluids plus per day. Fabulous, and eat healthily. Is CoQ10 safe for me, and what diet suggestions would you make? Now, can we talk about what DVT actually is?
Yep, absolutely, yes. So great question, Steve. And so let's talk about a DVT. So DVT is stands for deep vein thrombosis.
Okay.
It happens usually in the lower limbs, around the calf or sometimes in the thigh. And it presents as a very sort of swollen, tender, painful, sometimes red part of your leg.
Okay.
And it can happen for a number of different reasons. Several factors that can be involved. Sometimes there can be a genetic predisposition to it if you have some sort of what we call a thrombophilia. But other times it can be related to lifestyle matters, to after having surgery, or to protracted bed rest, for example. There are other reasons, and smoking is one of the links as well.
Oh, interesting.
So as a result of that, what we get concerned about with that clot within the deep veins is that can theoretically shoot off and cause a blood clot on the lung. And when that happens, obviously we're not going to be able to breathe quite as effectively, which can be very serious and life-threatening. So it's important that, if the moment we recognise that something might be a DVT, that we get appropriate medical intervention in place to ensure that the blood is being kept thin through the medicines that Steve's talked about here, whether it's warfarin or apixaban, or usually at first sometimes they give you an injection just because that works much quicker and helps keep the blood thin that way. Now, having one 4 times is quite unusual and does raise some concerns about what might be sort of going on there in an underlying way. So I would recommend that Steve does make sure that he's taking appropriate advice from his doctor and they've done all the relevant investigations. But how to prevent it, there's a lot of things that we can do. And we used to call a DVT, I think some people still call it, economy class syndrome, is that right?
Okay.
When people who are taking flights, long-haul flights, they can be at a greater risk of developing. And you get the socks, which are very effective. And so I do recommend flight socks if you are taking long-haul flights, which is anything longer than 4 hours. Good hydration, as he's talked about, which is very important. One of the things I often say about aeroplanes is that it's ironic, as soon as you get on the plane, they want to ply you with alcohol and caffeine, both of which dehydrate you and can theoretically put you at a risk of having a blood clot. So it's important to keep yourself well hydrated, and by wearing these flight socks we compress the superficial veins, the outside veins, and that encourages the venous return from the deep veins to keep them open, keep them flowing and patent that way. And obviously stopping smoking if anyone smokes, that's another thing that can contribute to thrombosis.
It's a cause of so many, different illnesses, isn't it? So, we always suggest, and obviously we understand that it can be very difficult. Nobody's saying that smoking is easy to give up. In fact, Dr. Dan was talking about it on another one of the Ask the Doctor shows, and quite rightly said, relapsing can be sort of a part of the process. So don't be so hard on yourself if you end up relapsing and going back to smoking, that, do you know what, I'm just not going to be able to quit. You know, it's too hard. I've gone back. That just means that I'll never be able to do it. And Dan was like, actually, you know, on average, I can't remember the exact number, I think it might have been sort of 5 or 6 times. Perhaps it might have even been 7, but, you know, it can be a few times before you actually get to the point where it's like, no more. So if you are trying, first of all, well done. You know, that's really commendable in itself, but just keep going with it. Keep going, because it's got so many health benefits to quit. So, you know, if that's perhaps one of your New Year's resolutions, I do hope that's going well for you. Yeah.
Yep, the average is 4 times, I believe.
Is it 4 times? Oh, sorry.
So, I mean, that's the average, so it can be an awful lot more in some cases. There is a terrific book by the late Alan Carr called Easy Way to Stop Smoking, which I do highly recommend. Very nice, simple, easy read. It's been around for, 30 years. A lot of famous celebrities stopped smoking as a result of reading it. And it's something that I would recommend. And the final thing I'd say to Steve is activity, movement. You know, protracted rest or bed rest or sitting down for long periods of time can cause what we call venous stasis, where the veins are, the blood in the veins not really moving quite as much and can clot a bit more easily. So, you know, if you are on a long haul flight, when you get the opportunity, do try and have a walk around, you know, wiggle your toes, move your ankles, encourage the circulation. And obviously activity and exercise, you know, I'll never stop recommending those to everybody.
And again, you know, activity and exercise releases endorphins, and it's you know, it's a natural happiness booster. So interesting enough, I'm just wondering, and I've never asked my brother this question, Shan, because both my brothers are pilots. Would they be advised to? In fact, funny enough, my brother's back at the moment for my nan's 90th birthday. Yeah, I mean, my nan is just what a fantastic representation of the primal life. You know, it's been so healthy, and she's 90 years old. She still lives on her own. She walks it. You know, don't get me wrong. When I say she's so healthy, she healthy in many other ways. She has unfortunately got cancer, but she's been doing so well, and she's had an operation. But aside from that, I mean, she does not look 90. She walks in and out of town every day. You know, I think stretches herself a little bit too much sometimes, but she is quite phenomenal. But my brother is back at the moment for her 90th, because he lives up in Edinburgh, and he's a pilot. Would they perhaps suggest that pilots and cabin crew wear socks to perhaps prevent DVT? Do you know if that's a thing? I don't know.
I would absolutely recommend it. Perhaps cabin crew maybe not as much, because they're walking up and down, they're moving a lot. But then, you know, you could take that to any particular situation. An office worker who's constantly at the desk for 8 hours a day, if they're not getting up and moving, then they're not going to be getting or encouraging that venous return that is so important to prevent DVT. So I would say I would extend it to pretty much anyone who is in a sedentary job of any kind, and try and encourage and incorporate mindful movement within their day-to-day routines.
I mean, they do say it's so important, don't they, to, you know, if you are sat at a desk, you know, perhaps at a computer, even things like, you know, hunched over, get up, stretch yourself, have a bit of a walkabout, and you know, just get yourself moving. Steve, thank you so much for that. I know you mentioned CoQ10 in there as well, which is a natural antioxidant produced by the body. In fact, interestingly enough, 10% of Japan's population are actually prescribed by medical professionals CoQ10 as you know, for a healthier lifestyle, to help reduce, you know, the risk of high cholesterol and heart disease, because they just believe in it so very much. So you know, we're a huge advocate of CoQ10 here. You know, obviously we always say, you know, speak directly with your GP, but perhaps maybe in this instance, because you have had DVT 4 times, so it'd be definitely worth speaking with them. I would say so. But thank you so much for getting in touch. I can see why you've asked this question as well, because CoQ10 actually decreases naturally as you age. So we sort of suggest, you know, if you are over 50, that is perhaps a time to look at it. And that is again why our Steve here, the founder of Primal Cure, does take CoQ10. And you know, cavemen used to get perhaps a lot more of it, because it, you know, in offal, in fish. I mean, what do you think to offal, Shan? Do you eat? No, it's not my thing
I'll have
either.
Fish, but not really particularly on
No,
offal.
I just say I don't like offal or fish. Peanuts I like though. You can get it in peanuts, but then you can't take too many peanuts, because again, that's, you know, they've got quite a high calorific value as well. So you know, do you want to be consuming them? They're fantastic. great healthy fats, but you don't want to be consuming them too heavily in one go. So yeah, Steve, brilliant question. Thank you so much for that there. Now we are moving on to another one here. Oh, interesting. We've actually had a few people get in touch about Parkinson's as of late. So Megan, thank you Megan. Is there a possible link between diet and Parkinson's disease? If so, what can a family member of mine be doing to help their condition?
Okay, so terrific question from Megan, so thank you for that. And the answer is yes. Yes, there is. There was a paper published recently called The Emerging Role of Nutrition in Parkinson's Disease, and it talks about a number of different things that can sometimes make the symptoms or the progression of the symptoms worse, and other things that can slow down the progression as well. One of the things that they talked about was dairy and reducing dairy, because there was believed to be some sort of link between high consumption of dairy and the progression of symptoms developing in Parkinson's disease. A couple of things called phytochemicals and carotenoids were thought to also be related, so that you can find that in carrots, in fruits and vegetables, and increasing your intake of those is believed to be, according to this paper, something that can slow down the progression of Parkinson's disease and possibly maybe even prevent it. I think the phrase they used was to reduce the rate of functional decline from Parkinson's by increasing your intake in such foods. So yes, fruit and vegetables, carrots, root vegetables, you'll find a lot of those in that. And the final one was omega-3, which
we love our omega here.
Everybody here should, I'm sure they're on. I'm on too, and it's terrific. It's thought to be neuroprotective, and so I mean, many other health benefits of taking omega-3 as well. So I certainly recommend looking into that. But yes, they're the broad ones. I certainly recommend looking into the paper. It's called Emerging Role of Emerging Role of Nutrition in Parkinson's Disease.
Fabulous.
I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it was actually a published research paper, and it's certainly quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely worth a read. You know, and again, as I say, we try and get through as many of your questions as possible, but we really do have so many coming through at the moment. Just please do keep them coming. Some that we can't maybe necessarily answer on air, we will try and get back to you via email as well. But you know, thank you so much for getting in touch. If you also did email us or you know put your submission in via the website regarding Parkinson's, then what a great point of information to have a look at there. So yeah, do make sure you check that out. And we're just showing you there also how to get in touch with the doctors. Go to the website, click on the Ask the Doctors, we call it a banner. So just the Ask the Doctors banner on the web page, and get your questions in. We want to hear from you. We air every Monday at 6 p.m, and then we also repeat the show on a Saturday at 10 a.m, just in case you've missed it, because I know we can be quite busy as well. So you know, life is busy, we understand that. This is a really interesting one. So Harry's asked, what can I do to improve my chances of becoming a dad?
Okay, great question again, Harry. So thank you for that. There are a number of things that we can do, and a lot of it comes down to common sense things. So the obvious one we would say to smokers is stop smoking. That is something that is significantly associated with reducing the sperm count. So it's very important to do what we can. We've already talked about that, so I won't go too far into that. Stress is a big one. Managing stress. How are we dealing with stress? What's going on? Or as I met with Malcolm Kendrick last week, he was talking about stress. He said we shouldn't really be using the word stress. What we should be saying is strain, because stress is the external thing that's happening to us. Strain is how we're responding to it, what we're allowing it to do to us.
Interesting.
Which was very interesting. And so it's important to look at what we can do to reduce that kind of strain in our lives, whether it's physical or emotional or professional or personal, however it might be. And looking into factors that we can do to help make ourselves feel a little bit more relaxed and calm and de-stressed, and that can theoretically help to improve your chances there. Now, avoiding hot baths and hot saunas is another thing that is recommended.
Now, I've heard this before, but you know, obviously there's a lot of information out there. Is it true? Is it not true? Is it, you know, an old wives' tale? What are the reasonings for that then? So, So hot baths, to avoid hot baths?
Yes, it's thought that that will actually reduce your chances of creating healthy sperm.
Okay.
If you're consistently exposed to a hot environment. So that's been one of the recognised recommendations that we give there. And the final one is not wearing restrictive or constrictive underwear. Okay, for obvious for similar reasons what we've described. So keeping things loose and following those measures. I think that's pretty much everything one can do on a personal level, at a lifestyle level, to increase one's chances.
Are there any foods that you perhaps suggest as well? So is there, in terms of diet, anything in particular you'd say would, be nutrient beneficial to perhaps conceive? Is it, or is it just perhaps looking after yourself overall and having a good diet, less of the fizzy stuff, less of the sugary stuff? And
that's what I would recommend. I would look at broad dietary approaches, healthy approaches that we know are proven to be helpful for many health conditions. I'm not aware of any specific research papers that talk about exact supplements and how they can potentially improve your sperm count, but I would recommend just looking at a broad, healthy, natural diet, looking at fruits, vegetables, salads, meat or fish, as Steve has written about in Primal Cure.
Absolutely.
Following those measures, they just have a myriad of health benefits and may well also possibly improve one's chances.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Harry, first of all, best of luck as well, and thank you so much for getting in touch. I'll just sort of mention as well a couple of my very, very, very dear friends, Charlotte and Steve, who got married a few years ago, but they've got the most beautiful little boy Jack now, but they didn't find it easy, let's say, to conceive in the first instance, and it got to the point where they were trying for so long that normally it depends from relationship to relationship, person to person, but quite often you'll find that the couple won't say, and you won't know if perhaps your friends are trying for a baby until afterwards. But it got to the point where they'd even sort of said, we're trying, we're not really having any luck, and they even sort of asking for advice from us, and somebody, a friend of ours, had said, you just relax, just I know, understandably, overthinking's not the right thing, because it's you can completely understand why, but just take a step back from it, just chill, and they stop trying, so to speak, or stop thinking about it so much, call it what you may, but that's when they conceived, and they've got the most amazing little boy Jack, who I was with actually at the weekend. But it is interesting, isn't it, that the impact that stress can actually have on your body in so many different ways.
Yeah, I think that's terrific advice, and I would actually fully agree with it. The general guidelines are that if a couple has been trying for a year or longer, it's probably worth getting investigated just to look into if anything that might be going on that could be treatable or manageable. But other than that, to just keep on trying, and I don't even like to use the word try, it's almost like...
I know, this is the thing, it almost puts pressure on it in itself, doesn't it? Just the word trying.
Yeah. And there was one other thing I was going to say about that, actually. Yes, there was a patient of mine some years ago, probably about 10 years ago, came in, and they'd been trying for 18 months, and we proceeded to full tests. Everything was fine. They kept on trying, and they decided to go for IVF treatment. And the advice I gave them all along was just keep going. Don't think that don't give up. Just keep going. And just before their first cycle of IVF, the lady naturally fell pregnant.
Amazing.
So it's important not to just give up or say, well, we've got to look at other measures or different interventions or procedures. Always keep trying, and that will increase your chances.
Yeah, no, it is a fantastic question, and also I was very happy that it was with yourself today, Shan, because obviously I know you're very. You talk a lot about mindfulness and the impact of stress has that it has psychologically and physiologically. So I thought that was a fantastic question. As soon as I saw that, I thought I'll be interested to see what you've got to say about this in terms of stress. So no, brilliant, Harry. Thank you so much for that one. Right, we are moving on to this is Kelly Jane. Kelly Jane, thank you so much for getting in touch with us. After I eat and first thing in the morning, I get terrible stomach pains. Must be very, very annoying. So hoping the probiotics, fantastic, will help. Have you any more suggestions? So after I eat and first thing in the morning, I get terrible stomach pains. Any more suggestions on that?
I would very much like to ask several more questions of Kelly about this, and it might be best that she actually presents to her doctor to speak a bit more detail about this, because there may well possibly be something underlying going on. What we often say if someone is getting consistent, regular stomach pains after eating is we want to check them over for any conditions such as gallstones, etc., and see if there's any sort of underlying cause there. So I would recommend Kelly just seek medical advice, but in terms of probiotics, they may well help, and there's unlikely to come to any harm taking them. But in terms of additional suggestions, as long as you're keeping your diet clean and healthy and natural, as we've talked about many times, then that's obviously going to do a fair amount to support the gut flora as well as your overall health and well-being. So they'd be the main suggestions I would recommend, and I would also just throw in something about stress there, because sometimes stress can manifest as stomach pains. Irritable bowel syndrome has been associated with stress in many cases. When we deal with the stress, when we deal with what's going on in terms of the emotional well-being of the individual, it can actually dramatically improve irritable bowel. I'm not saying that you've got irritable bowel, Kelly, just to be clear. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, so I'd recommend you do get this checked over with your doctor just to look into it a bit further.
Definitely. Be interesting to know as well, Kelly, what it is that you're eating in the morning, perhaps, because many people, myself included, most people these days, have an intolerance perhaps to something or other. So I'd be intrigued to know what you're having for breakfast. Now, if you haven't already read Steve's book, he quite openly talks about breakfast potentially being the most harmful meal of the day. We've been led to believe for such a long time about breakfast being amazing and how good it is for you and all these nutritional and health benefits, but actually that is from breakfast companies, and Steve, in amongst certain circles, is known as the serial killer because of his beliefs in I know, it's good, isn't it? Because of his beliefs, well, not even beliefs, he very much talks about the amount of sugar that is in cereal. Honestly, if we had him on air right now, he'd be on one, and quite rightly so. Cereal can be packaged to look like it's healthy, and in fact I even saw a bar, like a certain healthy bar, that outside on the packaging it looks like there's barely anything in that. That must be really good for me, give me a bit of a boost of energy. And I know about this, but that's what made me look at it. So I turned over the back, the carbohydrates, the sugars. I was thinking that's actually worse than most chocolate bars, and actually it's shocking that it's been packaged in a way that makes you go for it for the reason. I mean, it's one thing that that it's sugary, fine, be honest about it, but the way that it's been packaged makes you want to pick it up because you think actually that's not got much sugar in, that's actually really healthy for me, give me a boost of energy, and it's better than me having a chocolate bar, when in reality it's probably worse. So I'd be intrigued to know what you're eating in the morning. Is it as healthy as you perhaps think? And that's not your fault, it's just we've been led to believe certain things that aren't quite true, or perhaps you have an intolerance to something. So as Shan's mentioned, probably worth getting checked just to see if you have got any intolerances. They may be minor, but you can cut that out and make a world of difference. I found out that I've got a bit of intolerance to gluten, and it's made a world of difference just knowing. And there's certain foods that I sort of steer clear of or have a lot less of. But I was getting stomach aches that were giving me headaches as well. It's amazing how it can all link. Yeah, and things like gluten intolerance, there aren't really all that many any really sort of reliable tests for it. So the best way to find out if you have it is to actually eliminate it for a good 2 to 6 weeks and see how you feel. And some people I've met, some people I've worked with, they just feel like completely different people. Energy goes through the roof, excessive weight falls away, headaches, aches and pains just disappear. So yes, it's possible. We don't really know. I would recommend Kelly does seek appropriate medical advice just to look into this a bit. Yeah,
further.
That's it. Just to be sure. And I know there was a mention of feeling of fatigue, and you've just mentioned there. If you do perhaps have a tolerance, which we can't confirm. We're not able to say this, but if you do find that out, maybe that might be linked to the tiredness that you're feeling as well.
Possibly.
So very best of luck with that, Kelly Jane. Thank you so much for getting in touch as well. Now I'm interested in this one because, again, a number of people I know have had a stroke, and it's right. So Richard has asked, my grandfather passed away from a stroke, and Richard, I'm also very sorry about that as well. My auntie from the same side of the family has also had a stroke. Does this make me more likely to have one myself? How can I decrease my chances?
Okay, thank you, Richard. That's also a terrific question. I think whether it makes you more likely or not, it's difficult for me to say. What I would recommend is just focusing on what you can actually do to reduce your chances. And a lot of that really comes down to what we often talk about here, which is diet, lifestyle, obviously smoking cessation, and managing stress. And so doing what we can to eat healthily and cleaner, and making sure that we're not filling our bodies with all these toxins and chemicals and poisons and sugary things that we know are not good for us, can go quite a way. And obviously looking at lifestyle factors related to smoking cessation and managing or decreasing excessive stress within our lives, and activity, making sure that we're undertaking regular activity and mindful movements every day if we can. So I think obviously our genes are our genes. We can't change them. Well, we can't change them easily, shall we say? But
certain genes you can.
Well, yes, we can. But we are a sum of our genes plus our environment. Well, whilst we can't really do much about our genes, we can always look at how we're living our lives, how we're looking at our diet and our lifestyle, and how we're interacting with our environment, and making those small positive changes to support that can make a tremendous difference.
Fabulous. Well, I hope that was helpful, Richard, as well. And as I say, thank you again for these brilliant questions. We've had so many come through this week, and we're moving on to now a short but sweet one here. I do like this. So, for Sam, do cough syrups actually work?
Yes, they do. They do in certain cases, most of them, but it's not always ideal to take them, and I think sometimes we do have a little bit of a psychological dependence on them. When we get a cough, it's we tend to, I need a cough medicine to sort the cough out. The cough is a good thing. The cough is a defense mechanism, helping us clear our airways and release the mucus that we're creating, that is fighting off any particular viral or bacterial infection that we might be carrying. So it's important not to suppress the cough all the time, and allow the cough to do what it needs to do to help us get better. And something I do get concerned about is when people are taking so many different cough syrups to try and suppress this cough, but their illness doesn't actually go away because they're not giving their bodies a chance to clear the secretions that are helping to fight off the bacteria or the virus that's causing the cough. So the general advice I give with cough syrups is only really take them if you feel that it's having a significant detrimental impact on your life. For example, if you're coughing all night and you can't sleep, we need our sleep to help us our bodies heal and recover and regenerate from the day-to-day activities. And it's important that we do get a good restful, minimum 7, ideally 9 hours of sleep every night. And if you have a constant hacking cough that's keeping you awake, that's disturbing your sleep, then maybe that's a good appropriate time to be considering taking cough syrup. But there are other things that one can do to help with coughs, things like menthols, thought to be quite useful, quite helpful. But the short answer is yes, they do work, but just be cautious about when you're taking it and why you're taking it. If it's just something that you want to get rid of the cough, then you've got to remember that there's a reason you have a cough. It's your body that's helping you do something to help clear any sort of respiratory infection you might have, and only really look at them if they're having a significant or detrimental impact on your day-to-day life.
Shan, what about these cough syrups that taste really, really great? Now, there's certain ones that taste really, you could have a lot of them, to be honest, but what's in that? Is that sugar? Are they unhealthy in some respects? Are there chemicals in there? I just want to learn a little bit more about this, because there are, don't get me wrong, there's certain cough syrups that really, a spoonful of sugar really won't help medicine go down. I wouldn't suggest a spoonful of sugar anyway, but some of them do taste really sweet and very sugary, is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yes, and that is probably not going to be the pharmacological agent that's helping. So that's going to be more likely an additive of some sort. Folcodine is the one that I recommend patients take if they feel they need to suppress the cough, if it's having a detrimental effect to their sleep. And I'm not aware of that having a sugary taste at all. So yes, it's probably an additive of some sort, and don't want to sound like the cynic or the skeptic, but I suspect some of that might be down to the marketing and manufacturing department of the organisation that's selling you them.
So maybe just be a little bit aware of which cough medicines you're picking up off the shelf. Would you suggest, having a look on the back? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly read the labels. You don't want to be taking ones with sugar in them.
No.
And just remind yourself why you're taking it. Make sure you're taking it for the right reasons.
For the right reasons. Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, if a cough is ongoing and it's not settling down, then seek medical advice. We want to be sure there isn't anything sinister going on there.
Of course. No, well, absolutely, quite rightly so. If it's something that is persistent and something that you're struggling with, then do make sure you seek one-to-one medical advice. In terms of nighttime, because and I'm speaking from a great deal, unfortunately, a great deal of experience here with many respiratory problems over the years. I would have to, or at least try to, and my goodness gracious me, if you've ever tried to sleep sitting up, some people can do it, I absolutely cannot. So how does that work then? So, first of all, why do coughs get so much worse at night, or I find so anyway, and I'm sure people at home will as well. And can you talk us through the whole reasoning of sitting up, and just so we can get a better understanding of that?
Yep, so sitting up, if you think about your lungs, obviously as you're sitting up, then the fluid levels, if there is any sort of fluid accumulation, is going to go towards the bottom, and that can theoretically help us breathe better as a result. So that's the logic behind that. But I would often say to an individual, see how you feel. Do you feel better sitting up? Do you feel more comfortable from your breathing point of view sitting up, or do you prefer to lie down? Find the most comfortable position for yourself, and just stick to that. But the focus really should be on getting good quality rest and sleep while you're feeling like this.
Do you know, interestingly enough, so I went to Shakespeare's birthplace a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So my boyfriend's parents came up for the weekend, which did a bit of a touristy thing, and we were going around the house and talking about Tudor times and so on. And they had pillows propped up. They sort of showed an example of bed, and the pillows were propped up, and they're explaining how the children, 3 in a bed, in like a single bed, sat up. And I was like, why would they all sit up? And apparently, one of the number of reasons would be because they obviously didn't have lights and electricity then, so candles, and it'd be the smoke from the candles to try and stop as much of the toxicity of the candles and the smoke going into their lungs. And also the saying, hit the hay, was actually because a lot of the beds were made out of or had hay within them, and you'd hit them with this stick to try and get all the lumps and bumps out of it before you got into bed. So, my asthma would have had an absolute field day in that environment.
Yeah.
I'm so allergic to hay as it is anyway. And then with the smoke from a candle, oh my goodness, gracious me. Do you know what, actually, that leads me on to something else, Shan. So, candles. We at Primal Cure do humidifiers because we're of the belief that not all candles. There are some natural candles, natural waxes, but a lot of them are giving out toxic chemicals, and you're breathing them in. Within the space of your own home, which actually you should probably feel safest. Which in reality, close the door, and actually most chemicals are within the space of your own. Your own safe space, really, or should be. What are the thoughts on humidifiers and using oils and so on and so forth?
I'm not sure about oils. Dehumidifiers, I think there's a place for them.
Yeah.
I've got to remember that when we're breathing, the air we're breathing out is completely saturated. Okay, and you see this if you're driving in a car by yourself with the windows closed and the fans off. It'll get misty, and that's as a result of the air that we're breathing out. So we're constantly losing water. As we estimated, we lose about 1 or 2 litres of water a day just by breathing alone.
Wow. So it's important to stay hydrated then.
So
that's just
yes,
for one.
very
Yeah,
important
wow.
to stay hydrated. And so if you're working in a closed environment with no windows and you're constantly there, then it's going to get a little bit humid, because the air that you're breathing in might be clear, might be fresh, but the air that you're breathing out is saturated. It's got a lot of water content in there, and that will condense on the windows, and it'll start to get, as we say, stuffy. So in those situations, I think a dehumidifier it can certainly be helpful.
Yeah, or you can use, if you would advise, to actually moisten the air. Something that many people that have suffered with coughs and colds, they say take a steamy shower. It's almost like your at-home sauna without having to pay those huge spa prices. And also seeing people, if you're not feeling that well, and you don't really want to leave the comfort of your own home, then take a nice bath, take a steamy shower, and try to open up those airways. We do have oils here, essential oils like eucalyptus, like peppermint. Jojoba is a great one. That's known to be used quite often in the winter months. Very earthy, but stimulating smell. Known to help, if you're feeling congested. So just a few to look at. If you do perhaps suffer with congestion, if you do have a cough or a cold at the moment, maybe worth looking into that. The humidifiers and the essential oils as well. And also, to be honest, I mean, you're a coffee drinker, aren't you, Shan? Or a tea drinker? Yeah, I am too. I am, and I love a coffee or I love a tea. Without, both of us have it without the sugar. But we do like a hot drink, and I am a huge advocate of a hot drink just making me feel better, and almost sort of even just leaning over it when I do feel, like I have a cough or a cold. I love them, and we do herbal teas here as well. So if you don't perhaps drink coffee, if you don't like tea, tea is as most people I would say would have it. We do herbal teas, green tea, lemon tea, you name it. It most likely will be on our website. So do check that out as well. Now, we've got someone that's been asking about diabetes, which I'll go back to in a moment, but we're going to go to this question here from Wendy, first of all, because just the reason I say that is it's quite it's one of our longer questions, so I want to make sure that I get this in, and then just ensure that we've got time for any more after that as well. So, I am 54 years old, a 54-year-old female, started menopause just over a year ago. I suffer all symptoms of menopause, hot flushes, night sweats, weight gain, feel lethargic, brain fog, loss of confidence, hair thinning. I was a very, very active woman going to the gym 5 days a week and used to be a personal trainer too. Now I'm not training at all. I don't want hormone therapy replacement, which has been suggested. Plus until the menopause, I had fibrocystic breast disease, so estrogen dominance. Now in menopause, lacking estrogen. I feel dreadful, unfit and out of shape. So can you advise me which supplements, I believe, Wendy, you're actually already taking or have seen our women 40 plus and women 60 plus multivitamins. But Shan, do we have any dietary recommendations? Okay, now that's a big question. Can I break this down a little bit actually?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so first of all, what is the menopause? So we can explain that for everyone at home. I'm sure lots of people already know, but can you give us, a detailed explanation of what it actually is?
Yep. Okay. So the menopause literally means the last period. Menopause.
Got it.
And it happens on average to women between the ages of 46 to 55. And the years that surround that time are known as the climacteric, which is when people can start to get these sort of hot flushes and night sweats and mood changes and irritability and sometimes dryness of the skin as well, amongst many other things that Wendy has described here. They all fit in with menopausal symptoms. As a result of that, the body stops making so much estrogen, and there's a simple blood test that can confirm whether or not a woman is going through the menopause, which doctors often do if there's any sort of doubt. And so that would essentially diagnose the menopause. Now, just to be clear, not everybody needs to go on HRT. And
what is HRT? Sorry.
HRT is hormone replacement therapy, where essentially we're giving estrogen, or in some cases a little bit of estrogen with progesterone, just to give women that little bit of support to help combat the symptoms. And it's thought to, well, it's believed to and shown to help a lot of the symptoms that Wendy has described.
Got it.
But, it's not for everybody, and in certain cases we would actually not recommend it. And I agree, and looking at Wendy's question here, it's probably best that she doesn't take it, and I'm glad to hear that she doesn't want it, because there are many things that we can look at within diet and lifestyle that can help with many of these menopausal symptoms that she's described. Now, it's interesting, so Wendy says she was very, very active and used to go to the gym 5 days a week and used to be a personal trainer, and that is excellent, that's terrific. I would initially encourage starting to incorporate some sort of activity or exercise once again, because that is actually scientifically proven to help with many menopausal symptoms. Not to suggest that Wendy should immediately go back to what she was doing before just yet. If she doesn't feel up to it, then that's absolutely fine. But start to perhaps incorporate a little bit more activity. May well help quite considerably. Now, I'm guessing Wendy doesn't smoke or drink excessive alcohol, but if there are any viewers out there who are going through menopausal symptoms, cutting out cigarettes and cutting down drastically on alcohol is thought to help quite significantly as well. Now, there are these things called isoflavones, which can be found in soybeans, legumes, lentils and chickpeas. And there is some evidence in certain literature that suggests that they can actually help to reduce a lot of menopausal symptoms. Amazing. So that might be worth looking into.
The power of food.
The power of food, yes, the healing properties of food. And maintaining a healthy weight can certainly help. And finally, I would recommend calcium and vitamin D supplements as well.
Interesting.
Because that, not from a sort of menopausal symptom point of view, but to help prevent osteoporosis, simply because the estrogen that the body is no longer creating can ordinarily help to reduce osteoporosis, but obviously if the body's not making that, then one is potentially at a slightly higher risk. So ensuring that good amounts of vitamin D and calcium are taken in on a regular basis.
Interesting. Now also, having read this, Wendy, and I'm making just basically an assumption here, so I could be completely off the mark, but I know you mentioned, obviously, saying you've emphasised I was very, very active, going to the gym 5 days a week, using a personal trainer, which is amazing. What I would say is, don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think perhaps because you obviously were so incredibly active, which I could, just the fact that you put very twice, to me, I'm reading that as, it must be frustrating, and I can, completely get that must be very, very far away from what you're used to as well. Everyone has an identity, and everybody has a way that they're used to feeling and being, and if you lose that, it can be actually very mentally draining.
Absolutely.
So what would you suggest in that respect? Just maybe don't push too hard, and just at perhaps a baby step pace.
I think the main advice I'd give to anyone is don't be hard on yourself. It's okay. What you're going through is physiological and it's to be expected. The question is what can we do, or what can you do to help manage it? And looking at those approaches, I would say just gradually ease your way back into it. Just simple activities and exercises initially that you enjoy doing, and then build that up over time according to how you feel. You may well find the first thing that improves is how you feel emotionally within your mood, and it will help to hopefully over time restore confidence levels that Wendy's reported have been falling. But there will be many other health benefits as well. So I think that combination of things from a lifestyle perspective will almost certainly make some difference.
Fabulous. It's amazing, isn't it, how certain things can, go hand in hand, and how one can affect the other. And I mean this in the respect of, so you've mentioned here about the loss of confidence. Now, you could feel perhaps less confident because you're not, exercising as much, but then the lack of confidence, could also be influencing you not wanting to go out and do it at the same time. So it's amazing how certain things can have a knock-on effect. But that is a brilliant question. And supplements-wise, Wendy, we are huge advocates here of vitamin C, this water-soluble vitamin that we don't retain. In fact, we're one of the only mammals that can't produce our own vitamin C. So, it is important to ensure that you're getting enough of that, whether that is through diet or perhaps you may need supplementation. I can't answer that myself. It depends from person to person, but vitamin C, really does help with so many different things, and it is a natural uplifter. It helps with the production as well of white blood cells. So you're talking about, fighting off infections. So if you are perhaps, not being as active, not feeling as well as you were before, and perhaps then you are getting ill as a result of that, then this can help cover that base, because the last thing you want with everything, included, is to be getting unwell. So I'd absolutely say vitamin C, that's something that we just say, every single day. Make sure you're getting that in your diet. Citrus fruits, fantastic. But I mean, bell peppers actually have 5 times the amount of oranges. But I think because oranges are, perhaps looks so beautiful. And again, I like the look of a bell pepper, but
I didn't know it was 5 times the amount.
It's 5 times the amount. A yellow bell pepper, yeah, absolutely. But perhaps it might be, I don't know, it might be marketing, might be the fact that, I mean, it's bright, it's vivid. I don't know, but I think it probably has got something to do with that. But there's lots of different foods and lots of different sources of vitamin C. But absolutely, if you do want to look at supplements, then we have got a range of 3 different ones. We've got the effervescent, which you love the effervescent, don't you?
I do,
It just tastes fabulous.
It does
taste fabulous. It fizzes up in your drink, in water. Becomes really habitual taking this as well. I mean, I just have this in the morning. It's just like brushing my teeth. Do you know what I mean? It's just part of my everyday routine. And it'll give you that extra boost. I know you said you're on the, you're aware of the women 40 and women 60. Might want to consider, if not vitamin C, a multivitamin as an overall coverage. And you know, again, speak to a medical professional direct. If you speak to GP one-to-one, then obviously they can give you more information. Certain things that we can't necessarily say outright on television for obvious reasons. But if you find that perhaps you're perhaps lacking in one area, then it might help you feel better in others. You know, menopause obviously is happening. But if you might need some more B vitamins in your diet to give you that extra boost. Possibly, to go out, you don't know. Now, we had another one here that we do have time for, if you don't mind me squeezing another one in, Shan.
Sure.
Okay, so somebody messaged in regarding diabetes, saying that both my parents are type 2 diabetics, and my sister has type 2 diabetes now as well. Does that make me more at risk, and what can I do to reduce my chances? I'm concerned.
Terrific.
And that's Linda, sorry.
Okay, great question, Linda, and very topical right now. Type 2 diabetes is certainly on the rise, and we're increasingly also seeing that there are many, many lifestyle factors that are playing a part in its rise. Very much comes down to what we're eating and how much activity we're getting. And you know, increasingly we're seeing evidence behind having reduced carbohydrates within our diet and getting more healthy fats within our diet as well is thought to be related to helping to control type 2 diabetes, and also activity, looking at weight loss measures that can make a tremendous difference. So they would be the main areas I would look at. Do certainly look at stress levels, things that are happening there. But I mean, there's so many books that have just come out within the last year, literally talking about this very area and how prevalent it's getting and how avoidable it all is. So in a nutshell, what most of these books say is eat healthily, eat naturally. Look at your meal timings. You know, try and look at don't snack throughout the day. Look at narrowing your eating window to 8 to 10 hours, and cutting right back on things that we know are bad for us: sugary foods, processed foods, unhealthy foods, packaged and labelled foods, and focusing on what we do recognise as a natural food. So vegetables, salads, vegetables, salads, healthy fruit, not too sort of sugar-rich fruit, and meat and fish if you like that. And activity, just making sure that we're doing what we can to maintain a healthy weight as well.
Do you know, quite often, I think we've all heard, check the labels to make sure that you eat something healthy. Well, if it's healthy, then it really shouldn't probably have any labels on it. You want something preferably with no packaging. Go as organic as possible. Local sourced foods and meats. Really, it does make a lot of difference. And there's so much research out there about it. There's so much information in Steve's book about it. Now, the thing that I'm intrigued about, having met many people like this, and we've had questions actually like this before, but I'm trying to get my head around this. So, type 2 diabetes, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a bit of weight on you. There's many very slender people with type 2 diabetes. Can you explain that in a bit more detail for us? So, because I think there is perhaps a misconception that if you're a type 2 diabetic, then you should, perhaps have quite a bit of weight on you. But that's not the case, is it? It's not the case.
Not always.
No.
Not always. Type 2 diabetes is more of an insulin resistance picture, and what the medications that are used to treat it are really addressing that side of things. But if we look at what we can do to reverse it from a dietary element, it's very much down to the guidelines that we've already talked about, and how we can address that just through healthy living and healthy eating and mindful activity and exercise that will help to manage many cases of diabetes and pre-diabetes. In fact, pre-diabetes is something that only really came about in the last few years, where people are not quite reached
Not
the
just on
threshold
the
of
cusp, is
type
it?
2, but it's not quite in the normal range either, it's somewhere in between. And there are many programs around the country happening through our wonderful National Health Service that are helping people to address prediabetes, and all of them are looking at dietary factors and lifestyle factors, which is wonderful, and that's exactly what we should be looking at. So, you know, hopefully they'll be making this information more accessible to people and maybe even bring it into schools one day.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, well, there's a lot more information out there at the moment. I mean, this is just one of the messages that we're trying to spread. I mean, diabetes, the rates of diabetes has increased. So, I mean, I say phenomenally, there's not a good word to use for it. You know, it's not good at all.
No.
It's not good at all. It's quite shocking. And, you know, there's lots of hidden sugars in our foods that we perhaps aren't that aware of, that we're now becoming more aware of. So I think there's a lot more information out there that's allowing for us to live a healthier lifestyle, or at least understand, you know, what we are ingesting. A slightly different, well, it is a different diabetes, but gestational, so that pregnancy diabetes. But that can come and go. How does that work? How can you have that in pregnancy, but then it sort of alleviates afterwards? I don't. How does that actually happen?
Well, lots of things are happening within the body when a woman is pregnant, and one of the things that can happen is various different hormones can rise, and along with that they can increase the sugar levels, and that is what can be termed as gestational diabetes, persistently elevated sugar level. And again, that can be managed and it can be treated, and afterwards, many cases, women go back to normal. Sometimes they can be still at risk of developing diabetes afterwards, but we always want to keep a close eye on those situations. So in terms of pregnancy, that's one of the things that they routinely look into and cover. So don't worry about that if someone has fallen pregnant and
my sister's got it.
Firstly, congratulations.
First and foremost.
And don't worry, there's something that your midwife and the team that are taking care of you will certainly want to keep an eye on and look out for.
Interesting. Yeah, my sister's, she's on her second child now. Due on her birthday, actually, on May the 4th. Wow. Yeah, May the 4th be with you, which shows you she's going to be the one. Both times with her first pregnancy, same, got diabetes, and then second time around it, but then it went, and now she's got it again, and I'm just, intrigued to know whether that will perhaps continue afterwards. Because I don't think it's something that everybody is necessarily aware of. I mean, lots of people will know about it, but it's not as known as I think as known as perhaps other symptoms or other things that can happen within pregnancy. So I do find it quite interesting.
I think it's always important just to do what we can. Do our very best from a dietary element, a dietary aspect, and make sure we're getting good quality nutrients within our bodies to help, keep everything in balance. As long as we're doing that, then what more can we reasonably do? Yeah.
So when it comes to pre-diabetes, in terms of getting tested, do you just speak to your doctor, get a blood test? Is it to test your blood glucose levels? I guess, is it just to see where you're at?
So there's a blood test called the HbA1c.
Okay.
And that is a marker of what your blood sugar levels have been like over the preceding few weeks. And if it is between 42 to 48, you're in the pre-diabetes range, and if it's 48 and above, then by definition type 2 diabetes. So if you're otherwise fit and well and healthy, then it should be below 42. So people who are in that 42 to 48 range, nowadays we're increasingly referring them to education classes that help support and look at areas around diet and lifestyle and what people can do naturally. And a friend of mine actually went to this and was very, very impressed with how good it was. The information that shared was readily sharing it with me, and the great news is that she's no longer pre-diabetic.
Fabulous. So you can move out of that area, so that it's there for the purpose. This test is there for the purpose to highlight it, make you aware.
Yes.
And your doctor will then speak with you about what steps you can take thereafter to bring yourself back away from the diabetes, I take it. Okay, fantastic. And what sort of symptoms should we be looking out for? So if you perhaps got somebody at home at the moment thinking, I've got family that have got it, I'm concerned it might be hereditary, or perhaps I have had a bit of a sugary lifestyle. What sort of symptoms might occur if you potentially have type 2 diabetes?
Okay, so pre-diabetes, there don't tend to be too many symptoms at
really?
all.
Okay.
Type 2 diabetes, people can start to feel quite sort of excessively thirsty, a little bit tired, passing a lot more urine, and just not quite themselves, and often sort of overweight, and often we'll find that they're actually eating quite a lot of sugary foods. And
does mood come into it at all? Do you know the way you feel? Do mood swings?
It certainly can do, yeah. Probably as a result of the sugar swings we get from our bodies. So yes, it certainly could.
Yeah, because something called hypos. Obviously, that's the thing, isn't it? Having hypos.
Yeah, so a hypoglycemic attack is when your blood sugar falls dramatically to the point where it could be very serious. That doesn't happen as a result of diabetes. That happens as a result of the treatment of diabetes. Particularly,
I did not know that.
People have taken a little bit too much insulin, the blood sugar can fall quite dramatically, and then they'll start to feel faint, dizzy, and blackout, etc. It's actually a medical emergency. We need to get sugar into them as soon as possible to get their levels up. So if you have type 2 diabetes, that's not really necessarily a problem unless you're on insulin or related medications that can push your blood sugars right down, and obviously we don't want that. So in those situations, blood sugars monitored at home, and your doctor or your practice nurse will tell you how to do that and how to manage it and what sort of range to aim for.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I know obviously we talked about pre-diabetes and drawing yourself back from that. So once you find out that you might perhaps be on the cusp, then you can move yourself away from it. There is actually a lot of information now, isn't there, that even if you're type 2 diabetic, that you can potentially reverse it.
Yes.
So I mean, you've talked about this on air previously. So type 2 diabetic, I mean, I suppose it's sort of the same answer that you've given for if you're concerned about diabetes in the first place, what you need to do. So if you're a type 2 diabetic and you're trying to reverse that, something I've got family and friends, and I'm sure lots of people do. Again, is that down to healthy eating, lifestyle, looking after yourself? It's the same sort of...
Yes, it is, coupled with taking advice from your doctor, because obviously if you're controlling that and you're bringing your blood sugars down, if you're on medication that are already pushing your sugars down, then we've got to be very careful. We don't want them to go down too low to the point where it's worrying. So I would recommend taking advice from your practice nurse or your doctor, and looking at what can be done from a dietary viewpoint to start to bring those parameters back down to where they should be. You and I both know of Dr. David Unwin and some of the amazing work he's doing in reversing type 2 diabetes from his NHS GP practice in Stockport, I believe. And it's fantastic to see that kind of work and that kind of approach, and it really shows what can be done if we really look at what we're eating, our lifestyles, and the impact it has on our health.
Do you know what's absolutely fascinating? So obviously, Dr. David Unwin, if you haven't seen or heard about him already, I'm sure you'll be seeing and hearing a lot more from him. We've gone and interviewed him along with a number of other medical professionals, nutritionists, and so on and so forth. And you'll see us, throw to clips on air, and you'll see them speaking, and the interviews that we've done with them. But David Unwin was talking in one of the interviews that we did with him about how he formulated an easy way to explain to his patients about sugars in certain foods that you perhaps wouldn't expect there to be a lot of sugar in, such as bread. So carbohydrates that then turn into sugars. Carbohydrates are sugars, sugars are carbohydrates, and so on and so forth. So he talks about how much actually sugar is in a piece of toast, how many teaspoons. And when you actually see this visually, I mean, you can look at stuff like this online. How much it just do your own research. How much sugar is in a slice of toast? If you perhaps have 2 slices of toast in the morning, how many teaspoons of sugar is it? 6, 7 in some instances? Teaspoons of sugar in a morning before you've perhaps even left to go to work or left to go to school, and that's without your tea or your coffee that you perhaps spoonful. This nobody here is trying to say trying to make you do anything, or this isn't us slandering anybody. This is us trying to help. And I've had too much sugar at one point. I'm sure we all have it. We all have.
Yeah.
Certainly, we're not saying don't go and have a chocolate cake on your birthday. I'll certainly be having some cake on my nan's 90th for the weekend. But it's about moderation, and it's about being aware, and it is about understanding. So what a fantastic another fantastic show with you, Shan. Thank you so much as always for joining us. We've had some brilliant questions come through, and I just want to encourage those of you at home to please get them in. We want to hear more from you. just to clarify, not medical emergencies, but health and lifestyle questions. If there's anything you want to know, Dr. Shan and Dr. Dan are here to answer your questions. So every Monday at 6 p.m. This is aired, and then also repeated for those of you that missed the Monday 6 o'clock one, because it can happen. Some of us might not even be home by that time from work, you never know. But Saturday 10 a.m. So whilst you're not having your toast and not having all the sugar in your coffee tea, I'm only joking, but you can then watch the repeat. So as always, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time for Ask the Doctor.
Want to lose weight naturally? Spicy foods such as chilies, black pepper and even milder sweet peppers contain capsaicin, a key natural ingredient to help increase thermogenesis. But if you're not the sort of person who likes to eat hot, spicy foods every single day, and you want to shed weight, then Thermogenic Fat Burner is just for you. It contains vitamin B6, which also contributes towards protein and glycogen metabolism. Ideally, taken before a main meal, Primal Thermogenic has been designed for those who want to lose weight by increasing the rate at which the body burns calories.